So, all right, what is up, everybody? Shell Scout 0013 here, reporting in with Kyler and Canadian Bear.
Yep.
And today we are going to go over the battle forces and just what we think about them in the different tiers, S, A, B, C, and D. And we'll go over them just kind of like in order. And, we're going to give some flavor to it. We're going to kind of give you our opinions of the objective play that it has and the fire output it has and a bunch of other stuff. And then also go ahead and head to the Discord, become a member there. You can search through all the different channels that we have. If you've got any questions about CIS, Empire, Garb, Shadow Collective, if you got anything like that, or rules questions that people are posting now, go ahead and feel free to join in. It's free and easy. And then also the Patreon. If you haven't been to the Patreon yet, you can go ahead and get episodes early, get different things there, and help support the channel, help us grow, and then eventually we'll be able to do a lot more things and provide you with a lot more content. But we'll go ahead and get started here. So the first thing that we have on the list is the Echo-based defenders. So what do you guys think of the Echo-based defenders? And based on objective play, and we can talk about either separately or if you want to combine anything, the objective play versus the amount of firepower output and or anything else that is geared specifically towards that battle force. What do you guys think the category should be and why?
All right, I'll go first. I think that it's got plenty of firepower, and I think that it's got a lot of really interesting lists that you can build. It does have some weird or interesting limitations. Um, you know, no only Commander Luke, no Operative Luke, that type of thing. Um, but that being said, I actually think that it's in a pretty good spot. I don't think that it's over tuned, so maybe I would probably say comfortably it's high B, low A, like in terms of firepower and
Yeah.
overall things. I think it sits pretty comfortably in that window. I think given any day, I probably could call it a minus or a B plus.
Yeah, I think.
So, but
Yeah,
but if I had to settle on one, I would call it a B.
okay. Yeah, I think the like we were talking early, the 3-pip that allows for the free, standbys for the emplacement troopers, and the fact that you can bring 4 FD cannons is really nice. Um, the range is really well like done because you have the range 5 with the FD cannons, you've got the range 4 with the heavy uh, CMO 93 trooper, you've got the Mark II that can not it's not scouting out but detaching with the vets pretty far out. And if you also decided to bring the heavy T41 series or the airspeeder, you've got good range with that with a compulse move and then speed 3, and or the tauntauns. They're moving really fast and then relentless on top of that at range 1 to 2. I forgot exactly how far the bases move. I think it's like what 7? No, that's speed 2. Almost like 9 inches or so for their bases. Let's see for the yeah, I think they're the same size as the dewback. So that's 9.3 inches
They're,
basically. And so if you're
they're a
moving,
size smaller than the dewbacks, right?
oh yeah,
They're a
sorry,
little,
tons
yeah,
8.5. So they're 8.5
but
inches per
yeah,
move.
right. But the the thing to remember is that you get all those juicy benefits of the agile, so you're incentivized to moving a lot.
Hmm.
For sure. And I mean, moving at what 17 inches, and then you've got another range 2 on top of that shot for free. Um, you're
Yeah,
you're gonna be
29 inches threat range is pretty great.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I would give it a B for sure. Even maybe an A every now and then, but with the white die saves, still it's going to be lower on the spectrum for me for what I would want to use because white dice are just so finicky. 2 out of 6 saves versus 3 out of 6 saves with red dice. Obviously, you've got better statistics there, and nothing has danger sense, so you're not really increasing the value of their defense. Yeah, dodge helps every now and then, but you still got to roll a ton of dice if you've got clones fire supporting you. So yeah, I'd probably put it in the B tier.
think I would go for B as well. I think it's one of the more on theme battle forces. Um, and it does have a lot of firepower, but it's definitely like two or one of the main like list building features about getting the extra support slot. It's they're very table dependent units that you have right there. They both live and die by cover,
Yeah,
or
get a
by
good
LOS.
deployment, get a good table edge, and you're feeling pretty good when you have 4 FD cannons.
Hmm.
Get a bad deployment with a bad table edge when you have 4 FD cannons, and you're just like, well, I guess I'll better luck next time.
Yeah, and it's interesting too that they're kind of polar opposites. They want complete, or the Tons and the FDs want polar opposite tables.
Yep.
um, so
Heck, even if
it's
you're running the T47s, same thing. You
mhm,
want a different table if you have T47.
yeah.
And
um,
objectives, because those
yeah,
because you've got high mobility with the the tauntauns, or you're not playing bombing run if you've got four FD cannons.
Yeah, they're playing completely different objective decks in that sense too.
they both love payload, though. I will say that.
Yeah. Commander Luke with 4 tauntauns following him though sounds pretty fun.
Yep. I mean, even just doing like 3 tons and like an airspeeder just coming in behind them,
Hmm.
and it's like there's lots of options. But yeah, no, I think overall, I mean, it's good that you can take Chewbacca. He can soak up and help your core, and definitely stay at range. Or I think the only thing with the Tauntauns is you just besides Luke, there's not a lot that's help backing them up.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And then it's really split with objectives because you can
mhm,
either really go for like that bombing run, breakthrough, and payload, and maybe I'm not sure what other tauntaun key positions maybe.
yeah.
Maybe
Key,
those.
I mean, they're good and they're still valuable for intercept.
Yes, yeah, because the
Uh,
trooper keyword. Um, but it,
Payload, they're still good at.
but you lose out. I feel like on the 3-pip big time.
Yeah.
You drastically reduce the effectiveness of that card by not bringing the FD cannons, and I feel like it really helps the FD cannons with that 3-pip. And then I also feel like the 2-pip that allows for 2 units to recover for free is a boon to Commander Luke, because he doesn't have the Master of the Force yet, so that really gives him the ability to recover back Force Push or Force Reflexes, or if you're bringing the Force Barrier or whatever it is, that free recover helps. But then if you don't bring him, I feel like it opens up the units of who you can recover, but I think it benefits him the greatest because of the force powers, obviously. And then without Commander Luke, and you're bringing maybe Leia and or Chewie, having them recover really doesn't mean as much as it would for Luke. So you might not be bringing a lot of their specific Battle Force command cards, depending on the build that you have, which I feel like is why another reason why I'd probably give it a B and definitely not an A or S for those reasons.
Yep. It kind of wants to do a little, and maybe that's what keeps it from being A tier.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
What's next?
all right. Yeah. So that was easy. So Bright Tree. What
Oof.
what can we say for Bright Tree? I know some of you have already seen it in action or possibly have tried to play it. But what do you guys think about Bright Tree?
It is
ag-
either S tier or D tier. That's how it feels. Like
mhm.
I see it either get creamed or just like overrun you. It's crazy.
So then,
No, more seriously, I think it's just really good at objectives, and it's got a good bid, and it's got a lot of activations. So I think that there's going to be certain matchups where it feels like it's S tier. I think realistically, I think it's in A right now. Like for me, Every time I play against it, I feel like they have a lot of options. Very list dependent on, you know, like, are they going high activations with heroes? Are they running the ATST, Chewbacca? A lot of questions, in a lot of build diversity, even within a what I would consider a fairly limited list. So I think for me, they settle in A tier. Every now and again, you're just going to get creamed though. Like you're just going to be in a bad matchup. Something with a ton of impact, and you're running the armor variant with the ATST. Feels really sad. Sometimes you run into a list and they don't have any impact, they don't have any critical, and you're just like, yeah, I have a wall that's going to walk at you and escort all my little bears right into your front line.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, when have you seen them get clobbered, and or at what objectives did you see them get clobbered, and then what do you think is their weakest point? So I know that they can get easily suppressed because they have to maintain a suppression. They take one less off, I think at the end of the round, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
yeah, yeah,
so
C3PO, yeah.
right. So you have C3PO that does inspire. You've got Leia that does inspire. You've got Chewie in the
And
ATST.
Capel.
Yeah, they've got compel, which is very very nice. But you still lose out on either like an aim, a dodge, a claim, anything like that. So I'm just trying to think, when did they get clobbered the most, or what did they try to face that they got clobbered the most that you saw?
I think when I watched at the Crucible game get played out, it was triple Magna Guards, and that was like a pretty good example of like that ATST did not stand a chance. Like it's critical impact too. Like, I mean, he had to reveal the ATST. He had to do it because otherwise he was just gonna get murked by Asajj. Um, yeah.
Oh yeah,
So
that's right. That's
sometimes
right.
sometimes like I said, it's just your opponent is just playing a list that just happens to have impact. Because like let's be honest, like you're not playing Magna Guards saying like, oh, I need to make sure I bring impact. I'm playing Magna Guards. No, you're playing Magna Guards because they're Magna Guard. Like they happen to have impact. They happen to have critical on that gun. So um, yeah, that was an example of it just kind of feeling countered. But I also seen situations where Bright Tree plays against double bounty, and you have four bounty options, right? Like it could have been it, you shouldn't choose C3PO, but C3PO, Wicket, Logray, Han, Chewie. I think we're all in the same list. It had like I think that was actually yeah. I think it had all of those things. Maybe missing one of those. Just like which, and it was playing against a double bounty target. And he's just like, oh, well, what do I even pick? I think it wound up being Wicket. I think it wound up being Wicket and Chewbacca, which are I think the most natural choices in that roster. But yeah, and of course, double bounty occurred, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it's just how do you stop it? How do you make it not happen? Chewbacca is not Rebel Chewbacca is not particularly known to stick around. His job is to soak and then do the war cry of death, right? And then similarly, I think Wicket is not long for the world either because I think he goes in there, he chops up a bit, and then he just eventually, he fizzles out.
He's got a pretty good melee if you have tenacity.
He
It's like
does.
3 red and
Yep.
black, I think. Crit, surge
Yeah.
to crit, and
Yep.
pierce.
Yep. But yeah, Boba Fett's pretty good in melee too. I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that flamethrower.
So flamethrower. Oh, actually, the flamethrower, the range 2 flamethrower, just watching it delete an entire unit of Ewoks was nasty. He's like, yeah, simple man, range 2, whatever, just range 2 flamethrower, no cover, right? Nice low profile, right?
Mhm.
Sharpshooter 2 doesn't care. Yeah, yeah.
And then
So anyway, I'm kind of talking about like some of the counters to them, and that's why, like I said, depending on who you're playing against, it can feel like it's D tier. You're just like, wow, like this guy's got flamethrowers. He's got all these answers to my units, you know. But then you play an honest list or something, and then you're just like, how do I do 50 something wounds, of Ewoks, not including the heroes, like not including all the other stuff. Like how do you even manage that? There are certain lists that just won't do it at all. They just don't have enough firepower to punch through that amount of low profile, that amount of dodges, that amount of body. So
Yeah, there was one thing I was thinking is the one of the bando lists that I thought of. It was like 8 acts, but it was Black Sun and all mandos. So every mini is shooting 2 dice. Um, so every Black Sun shoots 2 dice, and then the mandos each one shoots 2 dice. So you've got pretty good firepower. You've got like and in melee at least the mandos are doing 2 each. So that could be up to 8 in melee, which could help or take care of possibly a an Ewok, but 50-50 chance. Who knows? So unless you've got blast, firepower, sharpshooter, I don't think you're going to do very much to them, especially with all the little bodies they've got. And they're going to do really well at anything with thumbs. So probably like recover the supplies because there's just so many of them, and then they can probably make it back in time to at least move the box for someone else to grab, or with I don't know, like I'm not looking at the objectives in front of me, but I'm just imagining they can probably do fairly well at even breakthrough with the amount of bodies they're gonna or amount of units and activations you'd have. Um, but yeah, just no armor. They're terrible against armor.
Yeah, I think though be- they're terrible against armor, but most armor lists tend to be lower acts, or at least like 9 or less. There's very few that are like true armor that are 10. Um, so if you go for something like whatever that 14 act French list was that won the French Open, um, like if you go something like crazy like that, then it's you just go for the objectives and last first a whole bunch of stuff, and you don't care. Um,
you mean last first?
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
You play solitaire for 4 rounds every round,
yeah.
or
Well, and I
four
think
4 rounds every turn.
even what was it? Nick Bodner's last game at Crucible was against the double dark Gav list, and he ended up winning with his Bright Tree list on objective. So like there's ways, but it's a lot of sacrificing.
Now,
It is a lot of sacrificial pawns.
yes. Now, do you believe that they need a bid? I know we forgot to ask on Blizzard or sorry, Echo Base. Do you think that a bid is necessary for both of these battle forces? Or do you think that they could be okay going with anything?
I think.
I believe they'd probably be good at
Go ahead.
anything. They've got some extra free moves if depending on the cards that you bring and or Leia. So bombing run they could do well at, breakthrough they could do well at, anything that involves mobility, hostage exchange. You've got Wicket who can do the scouting party, and then you've got Logray that can do a free move ability if a unit is defeated, and you've got Leia that can move someone with her 2-pip. So I think that you don't even need a bid with at least the Bright Tree.
I don't think you need one with Echo Base either, honestly, just because most of the time you probably
You
want
want to pick
red
top ledge.
anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to pick edge. So, um, and then most of the objectives that they probably want to lean to anyways are probably gonna lean towards the tie. So getting closer to that 800 is safer for them anyways.
Good point. Good point. So then, what
Yeah,
tier would you want to place the Bright Tree at? I don't believe their firepower is very high. I do believe their objective play is pretty good, and the amount of bodies they've got is really decent. And like you said, I mean, they're either going to do really well or extremely bad, depending on either who's piloting it or the order of things. But given all the information we know so far, and what units are out and how they play, what would you rate Bright Tree?
I think A. I think realistically, I think you're right. Like the only real weakness for these guys is probably bounty. Um, but Yeah, no, I think A is probably like a good spot for them. Either version with either version of Chewbacca, probably. Maybe just like different
Oh
levels of
yeah,
A.
it's bringing
Mhm.
Chewbacca, that's for sure. It's just which one.
Yeah.
Right. I would give it an A, because like you said, it's gonna do either really well, um, majority of the time, or you've got some things here and there that are really gonna screw up the plan. So I'd put it in A. So next, then, we've got the Blizzard Force, as we have constantly seen all the time. So, Blizzard Force, the firepower, huge. The amount of damage you could do, especially with a Veer's ATST, could be a ton because you've got Veer's 1 pip, you've got the Blizzard Force 2 pip, and then obviously you've got an ATST that can do a ton of damage. The bikes that can do a ton of damage. The HRUs at range 4 can dish out 6 dice. So yeah, I believe that the firepower is great. The objectives with Vader being involved and the bikes together are insane. So obviously, you could put it in S tier, in my opinion, because it has shown that it can do a ton of work and really well. Um, Even I think some of the most inexperienced people who do play Blizzard have a good time playing it because it's not hard to pilot. It's definitely not like Bright Tree that needs someone who kind of knows what they're going to be doing with the cards and how they want to play the objectives. This one, it's just straightforward, which is really nice about Empire. I just like the
I
fact that
still think it has a high ceiling.
Hmm.
Um, maybe you could call it high floor, high ceiling, right? Like I think I tend to agree that like there's as long as you know the basics, right? You're coming into it saying I know the tricks with Vader's might on hostage, or I know the ways that it plays. As long as you're not brand new and you kind of have maybe watched a couple videos or have a gist of it, I think that you're probably going to be able to do very, very well with it. I do think that bikes are a tricky thing, and I think that a lot of people play the bikes poorly, and then they think that lists are weaker than they really are. So that's why I think that it's the only thing that can maybe keep Blizzard from feeling S tier for any player. But given someone with, I think, a medium amount of skill, they're going to find fairly good success with it. So yeah, I agree with an S tier assessment, and I think the skill ceiling for them, with the little micro movements and planning turns out for specific win conditions, can be really really interesting. And of course, the fact that they always have a bid without even trying, that means that you're fairly confident that you're going to getting your objective deck.
And even now, they don't really need that much of a bid, if any.
No,
Uh,
everybody's moving towards 800, so now they can just throw small upgrades on things if they feel like it, and it's not going to jeopardize their bid at all.
yeah, I feel like
uh,
the standard is going to be 2 HRUs with either the RC-97 or whatever that long range is and the DLT, and then you've got a snow or two with medics, and then you've got 4 bikes and Vader, and that's basically the
Yeah,
build.
that's my favorite list. Double HRU, double snows with medics, 4 bikes, and then Vader. Get it out. The double medic I think is really 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 good.
yeah,
Um,
they definitely got hurt so hard.
yeah, they're like we're gonna raise the cost of these things by 10 points, and people were just like, all right,
Cool.
well, I guess I'm not taking transponders now. Ooh, like like yeah. I guess the thing that hurt them the most, maybe, well, not maybe, definitely would be the fact that they used to be able to play comfortable 10 activation, and I
Yeah.
think that now they're sitting closer to 9, which, but that's I haven't seen a Blizzard Force list that can't remove models, so because they can remove models off the board, I think that 9 quickly feels like, I mean,
And with
with Vader
pass,
once yeah, and pass. I mean, yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, so and Gar's super popular, so them playing at 9 is sort of like, that's another thing to consider, right? When the popularity of 8 and 9 goes up, then when they're playing 9, it starts to feel like parity, and that's, yeah. So definitely S tier.
Anything to add, Canadian Bear?
Yeah, no, I think for like how it actually plays, how accessible it is, um, it's probably S tier still. I'd say it's probably the lowest on theme though, from the units that it relies on.
Yes, yes, I agree. I think that it is not particular like what is it? Were HRUs actually there? Like, it was all
Nope.
snows,
Yeah.
right? It's
That
like
that was them making stuff up.
yeah, so it's like I don't remember Storms even being there, and then Vader similarly, he's not who I think about when I'm thinking of Blizzard or like that attack. I'm thinking
Mhm.
Veers makes a lot more sense, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, he's there for like the actual like assault, and
yeah,
then bikes. You never see them actually get deployed out of the AT-ATs.
nope.
So they were there. They just never got
So
used.
storms and bikes feels a little more like Endor to me,
Yep.
you know. So
Big time. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, thematically, an F, but playability, definitely S tier.
I,
Anything else?
oh no, I was just gonna say I don't think there's really any other battle force that's not thematic, like from unit
that's a
selection. I
fair
think.
point. I think it's the only failure.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Invasion Force with Dooku. That's a little
Yeah, but it's just
Mm.
it's so generic. Like
yeah. Like which invasion? It could be any invasion.
exactly.
Sorry,
No, it's no. That's exactly it. It's just like it.
I
Yeah.
thought they meant Naboo, but hey, that's just
Yeah.
because it's. But
Who thinks of anything else?
yeah,
Right. All right. Perfect. So next, my bad. Next, we've got what do we have? We've got the Imperial Remnant Force. So
Uh,
what do you guys think about the Imperial Remnant?
I think it's more often than not probably high A, if not encroaching on S. It's very sneaky. It doesn't look good, but
The yeah.
going up against those tanky models and the shenanigans that you can pull with the free tokens, it is so gross to go up against.
Oh yeah. Even just to shout out the Train Studio, I think Sean with his 11
Mhm.
act Imperial Remnant list. That was insane.
Yep.
Anything beyond range 2 gets the independent aim or dodge. So you've got scouts with independent aims or dodges, and then you've got the not the Mark 2, it's the
Oh, the E-Web.
E-Web. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
The E-Web with the independent aim. Um,
Yeah.
the
Yep.
darks gaining the independent aim outside beyond range 2 of the
Yep.
commander. You just keep your commander in the back. Uh, you're good to go. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I think depending on, especially with the fact that you can bring, the what is it, the Death Troopers with almost anything is really nice. The fact that you can change out heavies on different core is pretty cool. A very interesting thing to me. Uh, I don't know about Moff Gideon though. I think the ruthless. You're trying to give out orders, but you don't want to give out orders because you also want the independent. So you're really not making use of his ruthless inside of Imperial Remnant for the most part, and it's only for core. And your Death Troopers aren't core, or sorry, yeah, I don't think your Death Troopers would be considered core for list building purposes. Yes, um, yeah, I don't know. I'd probably give it an A. Definitely not an S. Maybe a B. Um, but it just depends on the build. A lot of people go double darks, but I feel like that is a trap in a way sometimes. I feel like you probably need the support with the other units to be able to get your darks to do what you want them to do. What are your thoughts?
I haven't been on the receiving end maybe of one of the strong a stronger version of the list. So maybe I'm weird to say that I think that it could be a B list.
I mean, I don't think that's weird to say.
Yeah,
I haven't seen.
I've heard people say exactly all of that, and I'm not trying to negate any of that because I haven't experienced it. But every time I've played against it, it's like, you know, like Dark Troopers in there, with Gideon, like double darks with Gav, I think are just the stronger list with Dark Troopers. So like I usually see them with like, maybe just the one heavy in the Dark Trooper, and then they don't have blasts and stuff, which feels really good, because then it's like, okay, well, I can deal with your critical one, like I can deal with that, right? 8 black critical one, like that's not super scary. And I think that given the high amount of defense in certain lists, and maybe the list that I play sometimes play, I feel like I'm just not super scared when I see him. But I will definitely say that it's from lack of experience. I've only played Imperial Remnant twice, against them twice. I've won both of those times. So it's a little bit of bias and a little bit of inexperience, I would say. So for me, they felt fine. Just, like they weren't undertuned. It wasn't like I didn't like demolish and you just like completely walk over it. It was far from that. I had to play well. I had to think about it. They have, full armor units that are getting free tokens, but I just didn't. I never felt super scared in that game, or like I was always on the offense, I think. And so maybe maybe I would feel comfortable still putting them in A tier, given what I heard. Um, I think perhaps I'll eat those words one day, and then maybe we'll revisit this, and I'll just say like, "Hey guys, I was wrong. They're very much A tier." Uh, but yeah, I don't know.
They've got
I guess
no.
I guess I could go either way. Like a lot like Echo Base, where I've seen good players do well with it, but like I I'm just, I guess, lack of experience having not. And I think again, because the double dark Gav tank is so ridiculously strong, that list is just way stronger. I think that's the thing that's stopping Dark Trooper players from exploring Remnant.
Hmm.
So
I've
there's
seen.
probably a list out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, probably. They don't have any good special command cards. It's just the generic cards that you would get out of Empire and or whatever starter you know kit you've got and Gideon's. And if you're just going with a generic commander, you really have no awesome command cards, no free movements, no anything crazy like that. So you're really relying on the independent stuff and how you set up your death troopers and or scouts or whatever you kind of want to go with first. The other thing, yeah, that would make it a B kind of for me. And the objectives, I feel like it's all over the place with objectives. It's not going to be super strong at one thing um, by itself. Now, like I said, the Dark Troopers outside of the Battle Force, I feel like are somewhat better. Because even pairing them with Boba Fett's 3-pip, and giving both of the Death or Dark Troopers an order and adding a black dice to whatever they shoot is really good. Giving them a free speed 1 move with the I'm a simple man is really good as well. But you can't bring Boba into the Imperial Remnant Battle Force, so that's why it's like it can be an A, I think, with the build. But I guess, yeah, I'm leaning towards that lower A, B kind of tier, um, just for the fact that command cards are not there. And again, if your Ruthless doesn't really do very much, and you're probably better off not bringing him, except for the courage value. So yeah, I'll give it a B in my opinion.
It's like, you will never look at E-webs the same way after playing against this list. Double aimed E-webs are a thing to be scared of.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm with you. I want to see what happens when I'm on the receiving end of it for sure. I'm definitely curious to see if I eat my words, and I bet I will. But nobody seems to be playing it. All the people that I know that play Dark Troopers, they're just like addicted to putting them into a Gav tank.
Mhm. If you want to see like a good issuing of this, it would have been you'd have to go to Yavin Base's YouTube channel, and because he moved it over from Twitch, like he made the short, like he cut up um the rounds from ACO, and I think it's the first round is the list, because this was actually what I showed from, because he's a relative local of mine, and I had actually sent the list over to uh, Sean from the Train Studio because he wasn't hyped on it, and then he did it, and he's now like I think he's like 30 and like 2 or something like that with this list.
Is that the 11 act one?
I don't think you can get to 11 anymore
Because of
after the Dark Trooper thing.
okay, yeah, because I know
You
that
definitely get to 10.
okay, because with the being able to activate twice, that's how I think he was able to get to that 11.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yep.
It was like
11.
9 acts or so, 10 acts maybe, and then with Dark's ability, I think that's how it got up to the 11. That, and I'll say 11 just because you're gonna have 11 tokens in the bag.
Mhm. But yeah, that'd be the episode I'd go look for just to see how it did, because what was he ripped apart in AAT and some other stuff in that game, mostly with the E-webs. It
Hmm.
was something else.
Um.
But
Well, yeah.
so I guess we're on B.
Yep. I've
B
put it.
focus.
I'm gonna put it under B for us. The next one up is Tempest Force. So either 3 ATSTs or 6 snipers, or I mean, we've seen them both. I think at tournaments. I think we've seen what a ton of snipers tried to do to the 501st or to Anakin and for breakthrough and did just lost. I think barely. 3 ATSTs. Even with the Mando list that I like playing, I was able to take out Marquand in the first round, and then just survive pretty well through that. But maybe an A, just because of the amount of firepower that you've got. But the objective play might be a little difficult. You're going to be really low on axe. You're going to need a bid, unlike I think the other ones, because you're going to have to play specific objectives in order if you're going to play 3 ATSTs, or if you're playing all snipers, you've got basically mostly white saves in the entire army in an empire. So I don't know. I like Tempest Force because I really loved Return of the Jedi. It was one of my absolute all-time favorites. And Indoor is always my, I base everything in the forest theme because, it's very fun. But, I'd probably give it a B in my opinion. But I don't know what you guys think of it or what you guys experienced with Tempest Force.
I'll go last.
um, I'm. I think it's probably annoying to go up against, but I think it's probably a C.
I could see that, especially.
Because like the scouts are good, but it's not Ewoks where they're native 6 health, and yeah, you're surging, but it, it's still a 2 out of 6.
I mean, still low profile though. Every now and then.
Oh no, it's exactly. It's still low profile, and spamming that is obnoxious to deal with.
Especially if you don't have sharpshooter or blast.
Yeah, but I think even if, like, I know Ewoks aren't great into armor, but even if you were to take Bright Tree, I think with some of those like higher act lists, I think again you're able to like play around this, and this is really, like everyone kind of said from the get go, like tailor made just to wipe out Ewoks. And I think most objectives with how many acts you could get with something that it's supposed to be its best at, it falls short. Um,
Yeah, I don't think I've seen very many people play them really well. And
Yeah.
I like the command cards though. Mark One's command cards are really
Yes.
nice. Free pivots or free movements or those free aims depending on the arc that they're in. Those are really really good. Even the ability to give troopers disengage. That way, if a force user has gone and you are still alive, if you are able to disengage, then the force user's out in the open, and all of your ATSTs can just obliterate them. But other than the command cards and Marquand, which is really nice, yeah, I think the C maybe B tier would be fine. But you just got so many white saves in a mostly red save army, and again, objective play is going to be difficult unless you build a list around specific objectives and get a bid.
Because it's like one of those things where it's most objectives are not vehicle based or vehicle accessible, and between Marquand and what is it, like two of the um three like just generic Tempest Force cards really want vehicles anyways, um or really help vehicles more than troopers. It's kind of just makes you would rather play Blizzard.
Now, I did
um,
like when I had to play hostage exchange, the fact that they were able to it. Do they get it's a scout move or do they just deploy range one outside of the deployment zone? I forgot which one it is. It's a free scout move, I think, right?
oh,
For them.
yeah, your vehicles get scout too.
Oh, scout two. Okay, so yeah, they were able
Yeah.
to maneuver my hostage behind all three ATSTs. So it was an impassable way of bringing my hostage into my zone unless I did take out one of the ATSTs, which thankfully I was able to do. But other than that, I mean, you're not going to be able to put them in bombing run if they've got the scout two unless you keep them in the deployment zone. Breakthrough, that could be okay. Key positions, that could be okay. Um, because if you can keep them alive, obviously. But those are all almost like round six scoring. So, and I hate playing round six scoring objectives because trying to stay alive can be very difficult, especially if people have a lot of anti armor. So that's why again maybe like a C B. But
To be clear, this is a competitive scoring, right? Like
yes,
we're definitely
Yeah.
okay.
do it
All right,
competitive.
all right. D tier.
Okay, okay, all right.
They're the only one. They're the only one that's going to sit in D tier. They they are good at the things that they're good at, but they are so bad at the things that they're bad at that you're not going to win a tournament with them. You're going to do well against certain matchups because you have a lot of armor, but the things when as soon as you play up against somebody who's like, "Yeah, I brought some impact against for dark troopers." You're like, "Oh, great. Well, my Marquand is dead turn one." Like it's you know what I mean? Like and not to meme too hard on them, but like it's they're accidentally countered by the better armor units, right? Like
Mhm.
or sorry, by the
Better
sorry, they're
survivable armor.
the people yeah, the armor units that people are teching for, they're collateral damage to it, right? So I think that they're C at best, but like from a competitive view, I actually think that they're D because the objective play is so poor. You have to have the bid, and then there's even then it's like what's in your list that you're gonna 100% be happy to see, like your opponent can just ban you into like the one or two objectives that you're not really wanting to play. You know that at
Mhm.
least that's been what I've seen. Locally is just people try it out. They look at the objective flop and they go, "Oh crap!" Like, there's no way for me to not have X, objective. Like, I think the only ones that they maybe do want to see is stuff like payload. Maybe
Yeah.
they might
Yeah.
want to see
Payload.
payload. But like, yeah, there's because of their somewhat. I think the one lists that I've seen, especially the triple ATSTs, it's like can't get higher than like 8 or 9, right? So
Yeah, a lot of them around like right around 8.
you have to drop an ATST in order to get to more acts, and then it's like, well, so what are you starting to put into your list? Bikes? Well, there's a better bikes list out there, right? Like,
You can already do double ATEST and a whole bunch of bikes in Blizzard.
so yeah, that so again, I
Yeah.
try to like, I'm looking at it from the competitive lens only. I think that if you're playing your friends and they're not going to tech specifically against you, or something like that, or you're just going to whatever, like yeah, 33 HP of armor is pretty gross, and that could be kind of fun. And there's good things, but that's why I wanted to go last because I knew that I would have like the most like negative thing to say about it. I just didn't want you guys to be biased.
I don't know. You're good.
That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I still think C, but I think there's still one that is worse than Tempest.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yes.
wow. I can't think of it, so this is interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't tell us yet. Don't tell us yet. Wait till we get
All
there.
right.
Yeah.
I
Well,
will.
also just like why I think this one is better than the other one is partially because of its limit and its available units, but it's not limited so much in what you in the amount of different things you have to take. Like different like unit classes compared to the one that I think is worse.
Okay. So
So
then,
yeah, I'd be happy if I saw it in a C tier, but or like I guess in my own little tier list, I'd probably leave them D.
yeah, no, that's
So
understandable on that one. I will. Oh, that's a tough one. Hmm. For now. Oh, that's a tough one.
Do we need to get a red defense die?
I want to lean towards D, but let's see.
all
Let's
right,
see.
how about this? Put it in C for now, and then we'll
We can-
we'll come back to it after we
Yep.
see everything, and then maybe we'll change our mind.
Yeah, that sounds perfect to me. So now I guess let's move on to the 501st, which I think has been a lot of people's favorites. And I am not a GAR player, so I will let the GAR players talk about that first.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot to say about it. I think that it's just solid. I think it's an A. I don't think that it's anywhere close to S. I think that it's like just hard A. It's good at the things that it's good at. It can bring Anakin Skywalker, and you're already doing pretty good if you have him in a list, right? It can bring a bunch of ARC troopers. I hear they're pretty good. So the downside to the list obviously is that you don't get to bring core phase one. And I say that there's a downside because that means that you are playing a lot of very expensive units, and the big thing that keeps them in check from being S tier is you have to play the support. Have to. Like
Yep.
there's no list versions where you can't. So because of that, there's sometimes that's just like the oddball out piece in your list. You're like some people lean into it, and I understand that, but like sometimes it's like okay, I'll throw a naked bike in there, and that's just dirtying your objectives. Is really all it does. It's just it puts that one objective in there that or sorry, not objective, command token, order token. It puts one order in your bag that you just don't want to see most of the time, or you just maybe sometimes you're just like, okay, let me get it, get it out of the way, so that and then my order control is good. So yeah, solid A. And the command cards are fine. I mean, they're not insane, but they're fine. So yeah,
if you
A tier for me.
if you could replace the support, or if you could just say instead of a support, maybe have a something else, what would you rather have? That has to be a must in a way.
I mean, the only other must then would have to be heavy because it has 4 musts already. So if we're getting rid of support, then the only other option would be heavy because it has no operative options. And
I wouldn't mind dropping it. I just didn't know if maybe
yeah,
like you would want more.
If it said you have to bring 2 core, like that would be the only change.
okay, yeah,
Okay.
Like I think that would it still would suck. Like I wouldn't want to do it. uh but it would be like I guess a consolation where I was like, okay, I'm happier to see just another core requirement because that's one nice thing about it is you can run one core if you want to run one core in that list. But yeah, I think that it just because again that would fix the problem. The one problem that it has is that your orders are going to always be just a little bit not great because you could potentially draw that support token, and then you're like, wow, all right, I guess I'm going with it now. Oh well, Or sometimes you really want to draw the support token because you're trying to do a fire support with like that phase 2, and you just don't see it until it's like far too late to get an ideal target. So like that can happen, and in fact, it's happened to me. So
Mhm.
where I'm just like, all right, I got a 1 in 3 shot of drawing this, and then you're just like, nope, nope, and finally, like, and your
Yeah.
opponent's just sitting there like, well, I'm behind the building now, so yeah.
I-
So anyway,
Is yeah, no, I think A is right. Getting 4 snipers is gross. Trying to figure out how to deal with that. Um, it also has 2 command cards, which are one is just great if you have a Jedi. Getting a third 1 pip, regardless of its effect being awkward and hard to get to work sometimes. But also the 3 pip, because it tends to be a lower act list and it's the majority of one of your categories, more than likely, it really makes it easier to get around Anakin's flaw. Especially if it's going out later in the game, because he's more likely to get flawed at that point. Then you might have lost that support. Now you got one less thing to clutter your bag when you're trying to get to him.
that's the one. Yeah, that's actually a strategy. Like
Hmm.
I've actually seen people intentionally not. You don't ever want to like just suicide a unit, but like there
Yeah.
are times where you maybe don't put it in an ideal place because you're trying to bait them into shooting that, and you're like, please shoot this. If it lives,
Mm.
I'm steamrolling you, and if it doesn't live, then that's an order out of my bag, and I have order control now. I think that's like a higher level thing to do, and I don't think that's not me recommending people do that, but there is a way to like kind of game that a little bit. I actually seen a bark eat like literally 30 hits one time. It was like disgusting before it died.
I Man,
So
I want that bark.
yeah, I know. I was like, can I borrow your bark, please? Like, it was like,
Dude.
seriously, it was 30. It was like 30 total. I mean, it was across a whole bunch of like B1s shooting at it or
Yeah,
something. But like, it was incredible. I was just like, paint for days. Okay, great.
I've never had a bark survive like that. Not
No, no,
even
only
close.
maybe once in a game where it didn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. Uh,
but yeah, yeah. I think yeah, I think that's the one thing holding him back. So
I see it a lot in tournaments, for sure. I think that's one of the most amount of Gar lists that I've been seeing besides just like
well,
Anakin
like,
Padme
and
uh,
or now the Wookiees.
Anakin Padme is probably the list. Like that's the new hotness.
it the talks are they're starting to, or the wheels are starting to turn. People are starting to come over to Yoda. It's like, no, stay away.
Yeah.
This is ours.
Yeah,
Stay with
I know.
Anakin. Don't
Yeah,
come for the secret sauce.
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just keep playing Anakin. It's fine.
Yeah, no, it's
Anakin's
just
good. Keep playing
seeing
him.
seeing the things that Yoda can do, and with all of the different, like even with the Wookiees, seeing what being able to guidance them, and then that's still charge, and then or maybe they withdraw for their turn, and then you guidance them to charge someone else, and just the amount of things that he can do is insane. But for the 501st, I think uh,
Yeah.
we're seeing a lot of good firepower come out of it. And I think being able to have I really am a very big advocate and person who loves force barrier. I anything to not roll defense is a priority almost, and being able to have 4 of the or not strike teams, but arc troopers is really really nice. You've got a ton of good long range that you can do. I mean, you can even make it to where you've got 5 long range units because you can, if you were to put Echo in a core unit, he could fire support one of the other snipers, and you'd get a lot of good stuff. But you've got 5 units that are range 5, and you can just hang back and protect them with force barrier and just kind of go ham on them. The command cards are really good. I do like the fact that you could have 3/1 pips. That's absolutely wonderful. They're all red die saves. You do have, sharing surges. I definitely give it an A, especially when seeing it in action in all these different tournaments. There's so much they can do, and it makes me really want to play Republic by far. It's just like, yeah, red surging saves if you wanted to. You possibly could have jump, so you could have almost Mandos in a way, but not quite. But long range, I don't know.
It is also probably the best in the box battle force out of the 4. Like, as far
agree.
as like
Yeah.
you buy
Yeah,
it
yeah.
and then you just start playing. You
Yeah,
need
and you're
like one more unit. If
you need the clone commander. Like that's it,
yeah,
right?
or like another thing of arcs, possibly.
It comes with
If-
4, right?
Yeah,
No, it comes with 3, but you can add Echo, which is so like
yeah, which
yes, you actually do have enough.
yeah.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
like the only other
3.
thing would be if you wanted a bark instead of an ATRT. That's it.
Yeah, but I don't even know if you do, right? Like
Yeah. That's
like
flavor at that point.
I mean I think I've definitely seen some decent ones with Bark, but I think actually kind of ATRT might be better, maybe.
Line of sight
Like
blocking.
Yeah.
impact it's just slightly cheaper if you want the impact, right?
Mhm.
Than the
Yep.
than the bark with the impact. So, and it's your only good access to impact outside of saber throw. So that's like the one thing, and so I definitely think that like having the ATRT is probably better in some capacity. Um, could be wrong about that. I definitely know that like people have seen a lot of success with just the naked bark and just saying like, all right, well it's here, it's in the list. I'm not gonna. Then they don't really care about it. And then they just shove a lot more points into their other units. But I mean, yeah, more arcs, more better.
Yeah.
Well, I will agree that it definitely goes into A. Um, it's it seems like a very very fun list to play. But what seems even better to play is the Wookiee Defense Force. That there, the free speed 1 moves, the Yoda, the insane Pierce 1 Fluttercrafts. I believe we're probably going to be seeing that in the finals a lot more. And both of you love playing Wookiees. So I will let you guys have the floor. I'm more of an Empire slash Shadow Collective E kind of person, so I feel like I can contribute more to that. But with Gar, you guys have way more experience. So I'd love to hear what you guys think. I would put it almost an S tier, if not at least A tier for sure. Nothing below that. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on Wookiee Defense Force?
Go for it.
Um, on a little tangent, just before I start talking about it, I'm waiting for a battle force where the heavy slot per guard doesn't feel like, why did we bother putting that in the list? But I think competitively, I think A is probably better. Fun, it's probably S.
Yeah, yeah. If we were which we haven't really talked about fun factor for any of this because again, competitive scale. I think fun factor is easily the one of the funnest, most fun battle forces that you can pick up. Period. Ewoks S tier fun, Wookiees S tier fun for sure. I think I agree with the assessment though. I think score for objective play and competitive play, it is not S tier. I think that it is clearly worse than Blizzard Force in that regard. And I really do mean clearly worse, and that's why I can't quite give him the S tier for myself, despite my biases. I think Yoda might be an S tier piece, but I don't think that this is the S tier Yoda list, right? If that makes sense. So for that reason, I think he sits, or this list, this battle force sits in A for me.
I think the accessibility to having Yoda and those Wookiees, just the combination of the two, I think is just awesome. You know, Yoda in any list almost makes it a very heavy objective list because of just the guidance, being able to do standbys, moves, claims, anything like that. And then the free speed one move, bombing run or breakthrough is going to be really good. Payload, they're going to be able to get into your lines pretty fast. And the amount of wounds that you've got to go through, it almost, if the Fluttercrafts didn't have that capability of going speed 3, I'd almost say, there's a higher wound threshold on the Wookiees that even giving them a bomb wouldn't be that bad, and getting that free speed move is okay. But the fact that you can, triple move speed 3 with the Flutters is insanely awesome. But yeah, the command cards, there's no, I think, special command cards for them. You're just using the regular Wookiee cards or Yoda's cards or whatever comes with the, core set. So, yeah, definitely A for me.
One thing this Battle Force has made me realize, though, is I never put 2 and 2 together, but if it wasn't for the upgrades, it feels so bad that the shooty Wooks naked are the same price now as a Flutter with the butt gun. That just does
Really?
not feel good. They're both like with this Battle Force one with the extra 2 points, they're now exactly 72 points each.
Yeah, I'd rather just have the
And
Fluttercrafts at that point.
yeah, like it just that feels sad. For 6 white dice with sharpshooter 1, like the surge hit, that's it.
Yeah, you definitely need more than, you probably need the Bowcaster at least on that one.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's
So, but it's
another
like
32 points or something.
yeah. Uh so but yeah, no, the Flutter's great. I mean, speed 3 is great, but the few times I've been able to just to like do the sneaky speed 1 is also just it's real nice on a compulsory move sometimes.
Yeah. Well, nice. I will definitely put it at A then, because it seems like it can do some really good work. If you don't have any good melee units in your army, you're kind of screwed. They're going to be eating through your guys in no time, especially with tenacity. Uh, Man, I don't even.
Everything
Yeah.
gets recon.
Yes. Well, if there's really nothing much left to add to that one, the invasion force, the CIS invasion force, that one to me seems very underwhelming and not as efficient as the experimental droid list. You do get, the ATT or the tank. You do get the tank, which is really nice, and the high velocity is really great, especially against either force users or the Ewoks, anything like that. That rebels or Wookiees being able to deny the dodges is really really great. But the Droidicas are very very just not great in the invasion force in my opinion. Being able to bring 8 B1s though, that is really nice. But then Grievous is still, I feel like there's some things that need to go with him. Either him be lowered, or I'm not exactly sure what you guys think about that. And you can't bring a super attack droid. It's just a regular T series, I think. So, and you said you have got Dooku, and you do have what is it? Maul. Maul is included in there. So maybe in
Yeah, I think the only version where it's competitive is the one with Maul. That's maybe a little bit aggressive of a statement, but I think it's probably true. Just because Maul is good at objectives, and it's the one thing that the rest of the list is going to be not good at. So I don't I having only played it once a long time ago, because nobody in my area wants to pick up battle droids apparently. I'll say that every time I've played against a CIS now, it's some combination with Magna Guards and some people, so it's definitely different lists. But as far as battle forces go, I think that it's not as bad as maybe it gets a rap. I don't think that it's terrible, and I maybe I'm giving it too high of a score, but I actually think that it's a B minus.
I think with the
Don't think that
Magnas.
it's quite C. I think it's a B minus.
Okay. Yeah, I think
Maybe.
with the Magnas and Maul and that the tank would justify that score for sure.
This is what I would say is worse than Tempest.
Ah, all right. Okay.
Okay, okay, okay. I was
m-
wondering if it was this one.
Yeah.
yeah, my thought being that it does have good options, but it between its requirements and the other options that you can take, it pulls you in so many different directions that it's stops you from being able to focus into one, like the thing that you actually want to do, whatever that is. Um, like you're also only limited to like a single commander. So if you didn't want to bring Maul or you didn't have Maul, you're either taking a T series or you're taking Grievous or Dooku, which
You're not
all,
taking
all
this.
three of those.
Let's be real.
I mean, just hide Grievous behind the tank, just run him up.
Okay, yeah,
um,
sure.
but between like all three of those, it's like they're all fine options, but it'd be best if you could take a T series with one of them, kind of thing. But you're only limited to one. The 8B1s is. I don't think there's a point where 8B1s isn't frustrating. From assembly to getting them to the board to then trying to manage how to handle them.
And cohere them and everything.
Yeah, like it is a list where I think just like especially if you're going for like the 8B1s, just the attrition on your mentality throughout the day is going to drive you nuts. It's going to wear you out. Um like the staps, I think staffs are still pretty good. All things like with the agile one, and they still have critical one, so it's critical two if you have both models. I don't know why those are kind of getting ignored, like just in general, really anymore.
I don't know.
Um,
I've seen him do some good work.
yeah, like there's not much that surges white in droids anyways. So what's one more unit that doesn't? Um, but like between like if you want to take Magnas or Maul, you're already let's see, what is it?
And don't you have to bring a tank?
You have to bring a tank too. So like you're already, if you bring the minimums of the three without any upgrades and you've chosen the T series, you're already at 382, and that's with 6 naked units. So like yeah,
Here's my list. Putting it in the chat so you guys can click it.
okay.
There's my take.
Yeah, and like the worker droid is just obnoxious. Like,
How about that? How about that?
like it is
This
100% obnoxious to deal with that many repairs.
yeah,
Um,
that's what I'm
but
saying.
but I think like
This
with
is an invasion force right here. This is lore accurate. This is lore accurate invasion force right there.
but it's, like with the size of like dice pools right now, and I think even, like if this were to run into like even just like a Tempest force, I think Tempest would probably wipe the floor. Like especially if it's just like doing the blast gun or whatever. Um,
That might be the case. I mean, there's definitely this is going to have the best chance against a bunch of armor, right? Like if your opponent or sorry, impact. If your opponent has a bunch of impact, like you're gonna be like, yeah, do you really want to just shoot into my tank the whole time? I mean, the only things that you're gonna do are gonna be the impact shots. I'm rolling red, so it's not like you're converting everything. And then whatever you do roll, like I'm definitely peeling it off. Like let's be real. So
Yeah.
and it's perfect order control, every turn with that list. So
Yeah. But I think like if you just take the ATSTs and you just like the tank is red saves. The Medroid or the repair bots are gonna repair it. So I think
Mhm.
though like you go for the V1s. You just ignore the
Can
tank.
you see them? Where are they? Oh, they're all behind the tank. They peekaboo. They lose a couple units and then they go behind. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like again. I think that
Yeah.
that's in a bubble. And if we're talking purely competitive here, which we should be,
Mhm.
I agree. I do think that it's probably lower than some of the rest of the list. So I think C tier is okay for it probably
Yeah.
in that case. But I mean, if you wanted to put them under Tempest across all like metrics, like I don't know, man. I think that they can. I think that there are versions of this list that aren't like this super annoying thematic one,
Mhm.
that have Maul, and so maybe Maul alone like tries to keep it at least above Tempest for me.
That's true.
But I hear you. I think there's a lot of truth to what you're saying, and so they're definitely competing for the bottom slot.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I would definitely agree with you both on that one. It is by far probably one of the lower ones that I would have ranked as well. Um, I don't
That being
know.
said, the list that I just put right there, if someone has enough patience to paint that many B1s, excuse me, assemble that many B1s, you deserve a free victory point every game you play.
Yep.
Because that
Looking
is.
at you, Jay. Yeah, he did that once, right? From
Oh, did he? Did he do
yeah,
it?
he took that to a local. He
Oh,
did like
great.
8B1s with the repair bots and stuff. He hated his life the whole time from what he said.
Yeah, I mean, I, I, I think just keeping track of who repaired this turn, last turn, who did oh gosh, yeah. I mean, imagine, you have to. I think you'd have to get some clever painting going on just so you can
Yeah,
keep it straight. Who's activated, who hasn't, who's repaired, who didn't.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think like just like from a tournament perspective, I like that's another reason why I think this would rank lower than Tempest,
Mm.
just because of the mental attrition
Yeah,
of
round one, assuming you get a good matchup, you might win, and then
Mhm.
you've burnt every brain cell you have playing round one.
Exactly.
And then and then you're just like, I don't want to do this for 3 rounds. I can't. Yeah, I get you. Yeah. That's why I got respect for like anybody running a 14 activation list. It's like, really, you want to think
Mhm.
about that many activations? Give me 8. I'm happy.
Yeah.
After 8 activations, let's keep it moving. Come on, let's go.
Yep. Yoda's enough for me, thanks.
Yeah, I'm actually running 16 activations if you think about it, because Yoda is constantly going like, is this the time when I'm gonna be an extra? Yeah. Anyway, sorry,
Hmm.
but anyway.
No, yeah, those
But
are
again,
all.
don't play Yoda. Just
Yeah,
forget
yes,
this.
yeah. So that all aside, yeah, I think we'll put them. Let's say we'll tie them at bottom.
Yeah, I put them both into C at this point.
Alright.
Because I think, yeah, both of you are correct on that assessment, especially competitively, because I liked knowing about, the competitive aspect of these. And the command cards. I mean, so they also have Battle Force command cards.
They're average.
They're average. Okay. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
similar
they're
to
average.
like the basic Empire one, which is like sharing aims. If you take an aim, shoot, then the person next to you gains an aim. I think there's one that allows you a free move.
Yeah,
If
the
you.
3 pip
Yep. And then
gives you units speed 1.
the one pip you have to give it to a heavy or support, and they just get a standby. And you've only got a range 2 standby on the tank, even though the base is fairly big, and you do have a pretty big range of that. It's still no range 3 standby like Echo.
Yeah, which last time I'll bring it up, but you can get like 3 on Tempest vehicles. So battle the standbys. I don't know.
Um,
Yeah,
That's it. I'm done.
yeah.
no, you're good. I think the experimental droids is the last CIS, and then Shadow Collective as itself is after, but the experimental droids. Um, I keep hearing a lot of good things, even though the Magnas probably, as a core is not the greatest, going back down to 1 health and 2 courage and how expensive they are, especially for the heavies being at 32 or something like that, point heavy for
The
having 1 health.
commandos are become the best unit, right?
The
Yep.
commandos, and
So
I think the
Droidicus too.
yes, that's what I was about to say. I think the Droidicas finally stand
yeah,
out in experimental droids because spending that surge to get a free aim or to make them speed 2 with their shields up, or taking suppression off. There's so much that the experimental droid list can do, and I don't think there's any special command cards for them,
No.
but you don't need any. I think the surge tokens that build up are enough for what you get. So I think the experimental droids, especially if you really love commandos or droidicas, is going to be the list option I think for you. Um, and they've got a lot of charge. Like I think we made an entire charge list last time between Kraken and all the Magnas and the Vibroblade commandos. All of them have charge at that point, so you get that free action, and you could increase their speed to speed 3, and double move into charge range. So I don't know, maybe a B, if it's going to be competitive, but it's definitely A or B in my opinion, just because of the units that you can bring and what you can do with those units. I think it's a good matchup in my opinion against the Wookiee Defense Force.
yeah, that's probably true.
I've,
I,
done
yeah,
that battle
B.
once already. it was
Mm.
interesting, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think B is a pretty good assessment for it right now, just given that we don't have a lot of statistics about it. The one person that I know who gave it a try said that it was okay. That was their big takeaway, and this is a person who plays CS. I think that they said that the Magna Guards definitely didn't feel that great, so they prefer the regular Magna Guards and with some repairs and stuff, to like restore those Magna Guard units back, you know. So probably B, yeah, until we know more or until I learn more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Out.
I would go like upper B.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely not on the low side.
yeah,
I don't think it's a low B.
no.
It doesn't have. I guess maybe the one thing I will note is that it doesn't have access to a Jedi, and
Mhm.
so that is something to at least consider. Is that like you're not bringing force push, and that usually is not fun feeling. So, but
And you're still not bringing an insanely high amount of axe like you would for regular droids or for the invasion force. And
it'd be like 9
yeah,
probably.
like 8, 9, maybe 10. And you definitely don't have the order control unless you do bring the Magnus and the Commandos. In which case, the only thing in your command bag is special forces. So then you can just draw special forces the entire time and have good order
Yes.
control. But you do have
Which I
a
think you are doing. By the way, I do. I think you absolutely are doing that with this list. I think you have to
that.
take all special force tokens.
Yeah, unless you want to bring the Droidicas just for bombing run or anything like that. But for the most part,
Yeah,
the fact that you're only going to either have a commander, which is probably going to have an order, the all special forces, or maybe you give your orders to some of the Droidicas and whatnot. But yeah, I think B is appropriate in my opinion, just because again the order control is not quite there, the amount of axe is not quite there. You don't have access to the Jedi, you don't have any special command cards, but you do just have options, which is really nice for aims, suppression, and movement.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the first one that I played against. It was a super. You want to talk about annoying? It was super frustrating trying to deal with this, and it's 3 of the BXs with snipers, but they have the shields, and then it has like 3 repair bots between B1s and B2s. Um, so, I don't remember like the full build, but I'm pretty sure it was like 2 E5Ss, B2 Ha. I think the original version of their list had 2 Magnas, but they cut it back to 1, just kind of to stay back there. And like if something gets in, then they have something that can be frustrating to slow them down. But potentially like 4 die snipers is is gross with surge hit. Um, like eventually that's if you get all 4, that even barrier can't stop that. You're gonna have to have a dodge at that point. Um, but yeah, no, it's there's a lot in. I mean, yeah, Droidicas gives you bombing run plays. De- Depending on how you built them, you have LOS blockers.
I think,
Yeah,
yeah, I think they're officially LOS block. Even
yeah,
I
it's
know depending on how you build it, but I
yeah.
think that I don't know. Maybe that was just at a tournament here. I actually think I asked about that, and I was like, they're typically line of sight blocking. So I was like,
Mhm.
what's the play there? And I'm I could be wrong here, but I think that some TOs can make a call saying like, hey, if you modeled it short, like we're not going to respect that because that's modeling for advantage, right?
Mhm.
Which is against the rules. So the
Yeah,
TO can tell you right off the bat, like everyone here is playing it with this, like across. That way they standardize it from table to table. Because what they don't want to have happen is you play opponent round one, they're shooting over their guys. You play the same ish, right, in a
yeah,
future round, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh no, you can't hit my guy, and it's like.
yeah.
But anyway, I
Sorry.
digress. I think that's a
Uh,
TO call.
yeah, I think the issue just comes in with probably spiders because they have the 2 different sets of legs. Um, but because there's only the one set of legs for the Droidicas, but I don't know how you can really build them shorter or taller. Doesn't make any sense to me,
Never
but
built one, so I don't know.
yeah. Uh, yeah, I don't know how people have managed to get 2 different heights out of them, but
Yeah,
uh,
and that, yeah, I think that's a whole separate talk
yeah,
conversation. But yeah, I think that modeling for advantage is something that I think people should be paying a little more attention to.
And what do you think objective wise? Do you think that the objectives for any of these CIS battle forces are pretty viable? Like, yeah, they've got a few options, but do you think that it's as strong as anything else? And I know that's why we've put them in B and C. It's because
I think they want to play 800, and I think they want to play the typical 800 point objectives. I think that they're going to feel the most comfortable in those types of things. Having a bunch of repair droids feels pretty darn good because as you lose models, you just go hide them somewhere, right? And then you can still use them for repairs, and they're not completely out of the fight. So like you want to play like stay alive style, and so 800 makes a lot of sense.
I think for different reasons, the 2 of them don't want to play certain objectives, but it's kind of the same as like it's every droid list. They don't really want to see recover and they don't want to see hostage just because it gets awkward. But that's like I said, that's not really unique to the battle forces. It's just kind of an AI issue.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a great point. Yeah, you're definitely banning those regardless of what's going on, right? I guess
yeah,
unless you happen to play the mall version of Invasion, in which case, sure, recover's okay. I guess if
yeah.
you can, if you especially if you have high activation like 11 activation,
Mhm.
but but um that'll be hard to do, mind you. But yeah, no, I think they both feel pretty good at 800.
Yeah, and one of the things I do like about the battle forces, just in general, is the fact that it helps for certain units that either nobody brings or no one really likes. In some cases, out into the front. So like Droidekas, again, I think they're the best there in the experimental droids. I think B1s stand out really well because you can bring 8 of them into the invasion force, and then the Wookiees, just regular Wookiees and Rebels, they're okay, but in the Wookiee Defense Force, insane. Bikes, they're okay, but in Blizzard, it just helps them stand out. And then I think with the B2s, I think the Geonosians now really help the B2s stand out. The ARC Troopers finally stand out even better in 501st. So I'm glad that these battle forces are helping some of the units that either don't get played often in regular lists, helps accentuate what they're doing in other lists. And then last but not least, just to get into it, is the Shadow Collective. As a whole, I think we know everything that's in Shadow Collective. It's very limited again on units. There's the ability to be able to bring 4 commanders or 4 operatives or any variation of that is really really nice. I think Gar needs to have that, and especially. But you've got Mandos, you've got the Black Sun, you've got Pikes, which are really good. In some instances, I feel like I like Black Suns even more, just because obviously the red dice saves. Everyone's got 2 dice. It is range 1 to 2, but if you've got a free aim already to begin with, so it's not like you're taking an action to do that. They don't have any really great access to free actions other than just the independent stuff. So like no free moves for any reason. I think every other battle force, I think for the most part, has the ability to do some sort of free move outside of their actions, or even a command card that's got a barrage. For instance, the Shadow Collective doesn't have any of that. I kind of think they're just only about force and only about as much firepower as they can get. They have to rely on some tricks, I feel like, in order to win. It's fun, though. I do like the Mandos. I think, the fact that you can bring 4 units of Mandos in that list is great, but you're still looking at a low activation list and low body count list. Even though it's really great defense, it's still, you're probably bringing 4 bodies max with the Mandos, and they're your strongest heavy hitters other than the Black Sun. And Maul stands out really well, better in Shadow Collective, in my opinion, than CIS, just because the cunning, the surge to crit with the
It's
Dark
the better
Saber.
Maul.
Yes, definitely. You're starting out with a wound, but if you've got a bust or a healer, you can, for the first round or 2, you really only need 2 actions. You're especially if you go last with him. You're double moving and then taking a dodge, and that's the last activation. Unless you got vigilance, you're probably not going to be doing much. So yeah, I C, maybe B. I don't think it's going to be A, because objective wise, it's not going to be the craziest objective battle force, because again, there's no guidance, there's no pulling the strings, there's no free moves, there's no barrage. It's only just you get free tokens, and that's really it. But so that's why I'd probably give it like a B, C. But what do you guys think about it, and or even having played it, if possible, what are your thoughts on the Shadow Collective and where you would place it?
I think Shadow Collective for me is the lowest A, but it's actually much higher because I think that the Pike Spam Ball list is still quite fearsome, and I think it's quite good, and I think that it's good in the meta, and it's good against a lot of things that people like to play, and it runs Maul, so it's the best Maul. So I think it's going to be good in the objectives. Um, so that's probably where I'd put it. And again, I think that it's one of the ones that we can sort of unfairly say, well, where does Shadow Collective place in all lists across? Because it's the only battle force that's like, well, I mean, it's right. It's like it's the only way to play them. So you can kind of say like, well, is Shadow Collective in all of Legion? Like, is it B? Is it C? And I would say that no. I think that we could argue that they're probably the high B low A for sure across all of Legion. And so then when I try to reflect that into my battle force like mindset, I think that's why I give them a little bit of brownie points, because I'm like, well, hey, even when even when you're taking battle forces aside, I think that they're still fairly competitive. If you want to play Mandos specifically, I think that becomes a more difficult argument. There are a few players out there who have had really, really good success with the Mando focus lists, but those players probably have been playing those lists for years, or as long as literally as long as you can imagine that they've been legal. So they're probably a little more adept into playing that. I don't think that it's a pick up and play that play style. I think that's very very low floor. You can just get wiped out if you misplay. So I think that it's very hard to play those lists. And so for those reasons, I think that it's hard to put them high into the A tier. Um, but I definitely still feel like they probably eke out an A minus for me.
Nice.
Uh, I mean, I will say I'm surprised people aren't doing that vehicle spam list that like it showed up once with like Evan, and then like Sean was doing it for a while. Where it's like the two AA5s, the three swoops, and then you've got some Black Suns hiding in there, and with the raiding party leader like doing the suppression game. Um, like I'm surprised that doesn't like no one is trying that.
That's
Mega
actually
demoralized.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
actually one of my
exactly.
favorite lists. I've had very good success with at least just one bus and mall and three bikes, and then just fill it up with some Black Suns. The the fact that you can dish out basically if you're aligned right, you can dish out three suppression per bike unit, with the demoralize, the shot, and then the compulse into a displacement. Being able to give out the three suppression and then multiply that by the three bikes, you're doing really well. And then if the bus comes in, that's another one. And then on top of that, if you had some pikes maybe in the back, just plinking just to add suppression, that's another great one. But I also feel like you got to have a force user almost. Just the force push is just too objective wise, too good to leave out. But yeah, that demoralized bus and bikes is a lot stronger than people think, and it really can go a long way.
I don't know many Force users that like seeing Black Suns. So I agree. Like it's hard to leave behind Force push, but I don't know. Like most of them have some kind of standby reliance to a degree. Like that would get rid of it. But yeah, I think A is probably the right spot. Like there was also that crazy Nova Pike spam list with the three capos.
That's the one that I was mentioning. Yep,
Hmm.
the Pike
Yeah,
spam.
yeah, the Pike
Yeah,
spam.
it's got three capos and maul, so you have four commander tokens, and then it's six core.
Yeah, and
So
then
your
was that
orders
one
are
also Bosk or no? Or am I thinking of a different one?
you can run you can run it with Bosk. I've seen it run it with Bosk. Don't get, but like I've also seen it run with Maul, and it works just pretty
Okay.
much the exact same way. Same way. I say that's wrong. It's not the same. One is all gunline, and the other one has Maul for objective play. But what I mean is that like the pikes play the same. So
Yeah.
given that it's like, well, it's my pike army is doing this, and then I have this guy over here going to do this little side thing, whether that's bounty to which is an objective piece in itself, or if it's Maul who's going to say, yeah, I'm really good at these objectives, or I'm going to go back happy or something. And I think that that's why it's so threatening, because you have this commander who's going to run off to the corner of the board and probably deny, like, play key positions and say, yeah, you're going to have to send a lot of stuff over here to stop this key positions take. And I have an entire gun line that you don't want to look at, right? Let alone run into. So it's a pretty good list. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that list as well. Whether it's Bosk or Maul, either way.
All right, yeah. I will put them in A then, just because I like to hear that.
Yeah.
I need to get some more
Uh,
boxes.
Yeah, tell me about it. I bought 3 core Shadow Collective boxes, and I'm like, I need more.
You need three more.
I just need more. Oh
Yeah.
man,
Yeah, I would
how
get.
many ways can I pose? How many ways can I model and pose Maul? Because you get so
Yes.
many extra.
Mhm.
I had to magnetize it or get it magnetized just because you gotta have it. All the different arms.
I that model just still like I love that model, but man, I wish there was a way just to only have the Dark Saber as an option
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
for like the modeling of it.
Hmm. Because they don't have
uh,
just a back arm. It's got to either have the double or the regular blade.
yep.
There's probably some really good modelers out there who will print
I'm sure.
something.
Well, we've got the final say. I think the only one in S tier is Blizzard, and then with A we've got Bright Tree, 501st, the Wookiee Defense, and Shadow Collective. In B we've got the Echo Base, Imperial Remnant, and the Experimental Droids. And then in C we've got the Tempest and the Invasion Force. And nothing in D unless you guys wanted to move down Tempest or anything like that.
No, they can go hang out in C tier. It's fine, but just as long as everybody watching knows that there is a clear distinction between B and C, that there is that these were not C pluses. These were these were like, right on the
Towing
bottom.
the line.
Towing the line, yeah.
Yeah.
They're just staying above water. Just staying above.
Yeah, playable in your local for fun against your friends for sure. They're not gonna get knocked out. They're not that bad. You're just gonna need to concede on the things that they're not gonna 3-0 a tournament without some incredible amount of luck. I think luck will play a bigger factor for those ones than any of the other lists.
Yeah, I think you're limited to what is a good list in those battle forces. There's a finite amount that you're going to be able to win with at all. But yeah, that I think that was great. Now I'm glad that we're seeing battle forces in tournaments. I think they're doing really well. I don't know what the statistics are on the amount of tournaments that have had the battle forces in the finals versus non-battle forces.
All of them since Blizzard Force. All of them since Blizzard Force. No, I think the better question is how many non-Blizzard Force have made finals. Is a much more interesting question.
I haven't seen very many Empire stuff other than Blizzard make it to finals.
Double Bounty is the big number 2 for Empire. I think you'll see quite a bit of Double Bounty, but that's hey, world champion, right? Double Bounty right there.
Double Bounty gun line, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think you had it right. It's like the other one that's had the most time is Remnant, but Remnant just doesn't look flashy like Blizzard does either. So you have to want to do that one. Yeah. And I just don't think there's people that really want to.
Or they just like Boba Fett or something.
Yeah.
And so it just says it's a non-starter because I can't play my favorite piece, this guy or that guy. You can't play Vader, you can't play Boba. Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks when you can't play Boba or Din. I like Din, but he still needs some work. He needs sharpshooter or something.
Give him sharpshooter 1 fix. Don't just done fix. But if they're not going to errata the card, he's going to have to come down 10 points.
For sure.
Like free jetpack, that would be the same thing, right?
Sure, yeah. I think that's 15. I'm not sure.
That makes Arx and Rex feel so sad.
Aww.
I think Rex deserves a free jetpack too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or just bring it down to 5 points. We only get jump 2 with ours.
Or impervious.
We don't get a speed boost.
Well, it's already 5 points for Rex, so it'd have to be free for him, right?
Yeah, exactly. So bring it down 5, so it's 5 for Arx.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's actually good. Well, wait. Hold on. I think there's a lot of people who would be upset if Arx got jetpacks for 5 points.
I wouldn't be.
Neither would I. Okay. Fair enough. Neither would I.
Basically have a little bit more of an expensive Mando unit, but you're good to go with that one.
Environmental gear? Ha! I got jetpacks.
I mean, I'd still be tempted to take gear on them too. I mean, it jumps only once.
True. But are you ever doing more than move shooting?
At least
late game, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe late game. Yeah.
Because when you want to at least I wish Maul had environmental gear. You could do it because hopping over, claiming an objective, and then hopping back over it would be the most ideal thing. But you can't really quite do that without it.
Oh no, he can't abuse all 3 of his actions. Oh.
But yeah, that's really it, guys. I think we've definitely hammered out a lot about the battle forces and what we thought about them. Do you guys have any kind of like closing remarks or anything that you wanted to add about any of the battle forces, or advice for any of the battle forces, or anything like that?
If you're playing friendlies, don't let the lists sway you too much. Even like I said, even Invasion Force can do fantastic if you're playing friends and locals. That we're talking about gauntlet 3 round type of environment, and that's that's what I'll say about that. Because I know that every time I see tier lists, I feel like I'm going to discourage somebody from playing something that they really like or want to try, and definitely don't let this discourage you from trying it, because a lot of these are quite fun to play. Even Tempest is fun to play 3 ATSTs on a table. It's fun to play. You might not be winning the game, but if you're playing your friends, you'll be having a blast. And so, I guess that's the last thing I'll say about it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I don't think there's really much else to add besides that.
nice. Well, that's cool, guys. I appreciate you guys joining and talking about this and giving us your competitive input, because I feel like that's what's needed in a lot of Legion stuff is the competitiveness. Yeah, it's great. It's nice to play fun, but if you know a lot of the competitive aspects of it, then playing a fun game is easy and a lot more fun, because then you get to relax instead of trying to, be stressed about a fun game. So, yeah. I'll go ahead and kind of close it there. I will say, go ahead and head to the Patreon and become a member and support the channel. And that way I can probably start doing a lot more with even paying guys to help and do some sort of content. And if not, at least join the Discord, where you're going to be able to do so much here and ask questions and get some really good information from guys like these up here, Canadian Bear and Kyler. But yeah, other than that, I really appreciate you guys doing this, and thanks for everyone who tuned in and watched all the way up to the end. It's been a very informative video, even for me. So I appreciate you guys, and thank you so much. Any,
Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
welcome to say bye, or yeah, peace. I don't have a closing. I don't have a closing thing to say. Yeah, there
Play
you go.
Wookiees.
Do the Wookiees.
Play Wookiees.
I gotta find out what Maul said at some point and be like,
Just yell Kenobi.
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 But
Love
yeah,
it.
we'll have to do an impression at some point on that.
Yep.
But all right, guys, thanks so much.
Great tier list. You should post the picture of it or something, so
Yeah.
that we can all thumbs it up and thumbs it down.
Yes.
and then argue about how wrong we were.
Right. I'll use it as the thumbnail.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh wait, you should make a messed up version of it and make that the thumbnail, so that people have to watch it to see the real one.
Make Tempest S tier.
Yeah, Tempest S tier, and then everything else is like in the D tier, and just be, like do one of the little clickbait little things, and you just like.
The real Battle Force rankings.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then they're gonna get through. Then they're gonna get through the first one. They're gonna be like, "Wait, what? I'm so confused. I thought the thing was S tier, and now they're no."
Right. Put Blizzard in D tier.
Yeah. Just mess it all up, and just make a little icon, little thing, and then just be like, oh my god, like I don't know. I know the YouTube algorithm and all that is like a game of like the whole like put what you put as a thumbnail and getting people to click and stuff. So that'd be fun. Because that's what people do, right? Like they'll see the thumbnail and be like, oh, I don't need to watch it, because I saw the.
That is a good point. I just did that now, and I will have to figure out a way to manipulate it.
Yeah.
And there you go. I just posted the video there from Atlantic City.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And it's actually against the Invasion Force 2, now that I remember.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I never talked to you guys about the that sword champ. That was